There sure are a lot of wrestlers on the AEW roster, aren't they? So I'm here to talk about more. Let's get to it. I'm John Rentham with my real honest thoughts on the Age of Wrestling AEW Part 2. So yeah, if you didn't see Part 1, go check that out. That's basically going to give you the explanation as to why I am talking about the ages of the AEW wrestling roster. This includes the Ring of Honor talents that I want to talk about. And I did a 4-part series on WWE's roster, the ages, what they have left to offer, and that's really the rundown right there. So, we go to Anthony Monster Ogogo. I'm just glad he's able to basically just live and have the best life possible, because apparently he has had eye issues, and he's had appearances in AEW. The feud with Cody was certainly a choice. I'm not going to say it was a great choice, but Anthony does have a unique style, being a boxer and everything, and willing to take bumps, willing to work hard, and willing to overcome the eye issues that he has. And I really do hope that they give him a chance to actually do something, because he's 36. I mean, unless there's just something preventing him from doing anything in the ring ever again, at least the Governor, as he is nicknamed, does have something to offer, and not just on international shows. I mean, I'm serious. Find a way to ingratiate him. Feature him on commentary. He's a witty guy. He's very good. You could find somebody for him to feud with. Have him knock out Matt Menard and take over his commentary spot. Just Anthony Ogogo, I'm a fan of his. I just don't know what else you really do with him, but nevertheless. At 57 years old, Jeff Jarrett. Yep, the last outlaw in his last year in professional wrestling, at least in the ring. And honestly, really, what else can he do? Now, hopefully, maybe by the time some people watch this video, he has won the AEW World title just once. It's one of the few bright spots that they could, actually have. Something to hang their goddamn hat on. Or something for Tony to hang his... The weird hat that Tony Storm wore that he put on his head looking like a goddamn doofus. I've never been the biggest fan of Jeff Jarrett, and he has a checkered past. He has stuff that, he's overcome his addictions. I'm not talking about that, but shady business practices and stuff like that. But I will give him credit. He has managed to somehow stay relevant, in multiple decades. Credit to him right there. So, 57, give him one last ride into the sunset. And then he could be a producer. He could do whatever. Maybe he could start another wrestling company. Who the fuck knows? Whole point is, Jeff Jarrett is a valuable veteran for this company. And then we get to age 37, the lovely AR Fox. That's for a particular friend of mine right there. Don't get me wrong, AR Fox is a good-looking individual, but I just had to channel that. If you don't get it, you're probably too young to be on this channel. AR Fox is talented, but the thing is, the time to utilize him would have been probably when he first came in. I mean, I'm not trying to be ageist, but 37, the man busted his ass on indies. Is still very agile, is very good, but the stop-start stuff with them, then maybe not, just leaving him on the goddamn side. Put him in a Ring of Honor where like 15 people watch, and I'm not knocking I'm not saying the talents don't work hard, but they have problems getting people to tune into Collision. Who the fuck is going to regularly watch Ring of Honor in droves? Whole thing is AR Fox is actually pretty skilled in the ring. I don't know about personality. I don't know if he would just have to be in a tag team or a trio to hide maybe any lack of character build, personality, whatever. But AR Fox isn't bad in the ring. Him and Swerve had a decent match recently on Dynamite. So then we get to age 34, John Silver. Yeah, Long John Silver, the Johnny Hungy. That is so stupid. That is a really stupid name. I say this as somebody named John. I say this as somebody that tried to nickname me Johnny in school and everything, and then the girl wondered why I didn't want to talk to her. Mainly because I could smell her across the goddamn room. That being said, John Silver, part of the Dark Order. Yes, it still exists. I know it exists in memory of Brody Lee. There are times to move on from certain things, and I'm not saying that people need to be relieved, but John Silver had been there from the very beginning. The Dark Order stuff ran its course by 2021. Maybe 2022, you could argue. You gotta have a turnover eventually, apple or cherry or whatever. Of course, if you bite into it and bust it, it's no longer a cherry turnover. What am I on about? I don't know. He's still young enough. I mean, he could be on the indies. He could come back with a fresh coat of paint, but it's just Probably because he's friends with the Bucks, I imagine. I mean, I'm not even knocking the guy. But has the Dark Order really meant much of anything? No. No, they fucking haven't. And he's just a guy that's just around. Age 35, Arya Daivari. And look, part of the premier athletes, Daivari's actually very good. He's teamed up with Tony Nese and Josh Woods. And Daivari is talented and can produce and actually can cut a pretty damn good promo, in all honesty. Just like his, older brother Sean. But Daivari's another one where I don't know what the fuck you necessarily do with him besides just feature him in a stable nobody really cares about. As good as he makes great Simpsons jokes on Twitter and is a witty guy. So I just wish they'd utilize that a little bit more. But nevertheless, he's just another guy there just to fill out a roster spot. Speaking of which, age 45, Johnny TV, Johnny Wrestling, Johnny Defy, as he was known in the brief appearance that he made for Defy Wrestling in Seattle, the first indie show that I went to. Got to meet him, got to meet Taya. Magnificent, tremendous people, super nice, so happy for their success. And Johnny TV, John Morrison, Johnny Nitro, whatever you want to go, Johnny Impact, Johnny Mundo, the man of 1,000 names like Mil Mascaras, the man of 1,000 masks. He can still go at age 45 and is still very, very good at what he does. I just don't know, besides him having a name to people that, watched wrestling in the last 15 or 20 years, I don't really know what else you're doing with him besides just having him as a name. I mean, he's somebody that I think could have good matches against Takeshita, even though I think Johnny TV is currently working as a heel. He could have good stuff against Ospreay. I would like to see him utilized a little bit more because however good a shape he's in, however, charismatic he still is, I don't think you realize that eventually the sand through the hourglass is going to run out, and these are the shaves of our thighs. I don't think that's how that phrase goes, but the whole point is, got to utilize him. He's a veteran that actually can still go in the ring, but eventually, a year or two from now, maybe longer, who knows? Maybe he goes until he's 50, but he's going to reach a point where he's not going to be able to do the impressive shit that he does, even on an interim basis. And then you're going to be left with, why are we still paying this guy if he can't do that stuff? So utilize him now. Have him have good matches. Because I know he's probably been working on Ring of Honor. But whatever. I do want to point out Mace and Mansoor. I mean, I know they go by other names. They made the most of their goddamn, deal. Like they're in their 30s and they can't, early 30s. They have made the most of the male model gimmick, and Rico was in their corner briefly at Wrestle Dream 2024, which I popped for, but that's because that reminds me of my youth. They are somebody that, or they're a team that they basically just exist on Ring of Honor. I think they've had interactions with Johnny TV, but there are people I just want to shout really quickly, even though I didn't write their exact ages down. They still have juice left, but nevertheless. So we get to, and I did mention Colton Gunn, who is 33 in part 1, and Austin Gunn at age 30. I think they're pretty much in Von Erich territory. They're as good as they're going to get, and they're just going to be wrestlers' sons that are going to be on the card. Josh Woods, age 36. I like Josh Woods as far as his style. I think he's got, good ability in the ring. I think Josh Woods could be very valuable to this company. And they just refuse to goddamn use him, or they just have him beat constantly. He's somebody, I do remember hearing his name and seeing him on a couple of Ring of Honor pay-per-views that I bought. He's good. But the thing is, at 36, even with his style and even keeping in great shape like he is, you run out of prime eventually, and if you just let him waste away, I don't really know what in the world, I don't know why you would let somebody like this waste away. Put him in a tag team. If you don't think he can cut decent promos, put him in a tag team. Do something with him. Because he's physically intimidating. We go to Bandito at age 29. He'd stop concussing himself and injuring himself and doing stupid shit. He actually can do impressive stuff. And clearly used the time off to get in even better shape. Not that he was in lousy shape before, but Bandito is a guy that's talented. I just don't think is ever going to... I think the injury bug bit him, and I don't think the injury bug's going to let go. Bandito's just there. He's just kind of there. As good as he looks. He's still got time. If he can stay injury-free, he does have the ability to really shine and excite the crowd. And he was getting good reactions before he suffered, I forget what it was, a wrist injury or a knee injury or something. Then he was out for a while. Then he came back and attacked Jericho at the Ring of Honor pay-per-view and instantly concussed himself. It is not ballet. It is not easy. And ballet, by the way, is really, really fucking tough. It's not easy when you're queasy after concussing yourself. Bandito's good, but I don't know if he's going to be anything more than just a guy that does stuff, vanishes, does stuff, vanishes. Juice Robinson is age 35, and he's had the back injury. He broke his tibia or fibula, whatever. I don't know if Juice, outside of his physical charisma, is going to ever be able to do much more in the ring. Because those are two big injuries within, like, a very short window. And, yeah, he could be back, like, he could be back probably May. I think May is actually more likely. And he can do some nice stuff. And him and Jay, actually, as a team, they were part of one of my favorite matches of the goddamn decade. Them against FTR, the 2 out 3 falls match on Collision, back when Collision actually was a proper wrestling show that drew ratings and crowds. Even though the crowd at the Saddle Dome wasn't necessarily big. Hell of a goddamn TV main event that I still have on my DVR. I hope they put that on Max so I can actually check that shit out and see, like, you know, rewatch it and not have to have it clog up my DVR. But Juice Robinson is very good. And also, him and Tony Storm are married and happy together. And you know what? Great on those two crazy kids. Somebody that's 9 years younger than me is a crazy kid. You know what? Whatever. It is what it is. Hey, Juice at least was at the New Japan show that I went to about 3-something years ago. About 3 years ago as of this recording. With my friend Roxy. And actually it was him and David Toe Finley. And we even got to see Jonah there before Jonah went back as Big Bronson Reed. Big Here Comes Bronson Reed. Juice Robinson's good, but I worried about the injuries. Big Bill, he's 38. Yeah, he looks impressive. Sorry. I've never seen it with him. Yeah, he's 7 feet tall, and you can't teach that. You can lie about his charisma, though. And he doesn't have it. Also, he's involved with Jericho's group, and also has about the same views as Jericho. And quite frankly, based on how he exited WWE, I don't think he should come back. Because of X being there. Like, really? Fucking really? Big Bill, though, I mean, yeah, he can do a few cool things. But I'm sorry, I've never fucking seen it with him, and I never fucking will. He's just a big lad on the goddamn roster. Shibata and his new brain. Shibata's 45. His new brain, I think, is, God, a couple years old. But, so it's going to be like Emma Stone and Poor Thing. Sorry for those that haven't seen it. It's going to take him a while, or take the brain a while to grow into the body. Shibata gets to do what he wants to do. Have some cool matches. Headbutt people, hit people, and also use Google Translate to make jokes. I mean, Shibata, at this point, the fact that he's alive and able to move and do what he wants to do, I mean, that's great. I just don't really get excited for Shibata. It was cool to see him at Wrestle Dream, but he faced Jack Perry. Like, is that really a good way to feature Shibata? But nevertheless. Age 61, Billy Gunn. I mean, Billy's career speaks for itself. He's overcome substance abuse stuff. He's probably in his last year in wrestling as far as in-ring competition. And what else does he need to do? Nothing much. He can be an agent backstage. And then we get to Keith Lee at age 40. I'm going to say right now, I just hope Keith Lee has a great quality of life. If Keith Lee cannot come back to wrestling, if Keith Lee needs to retire, take care of his health, him and me again, want to have a happy life, do whatever, great for them. I'd love to see Keith Lee back in the ring if he's healthy and in shape and able to do most of the stuff that he was able to do. But 40, at that size, with those issues, physical, medical issues, Eventually, your body's just going to say, I'm fucking done. I don't want to do it. And I think he may just be getting paid the length of his contract because he has not been seen in a while. And I don't think is going to be seen again. It's been, what, a year? It's been at least a year since we've seen Keith Lee. That being said, I like Keith Lee. I just want him to be healthy and happy. That's all I want. Bishop Khan, age 34. I think Khan has a great look. I think Khan has an incredible look, and I think Khan is somebody outside of that, being teamed with Toa Leona, who, don't get me wrong, Toa Leona isn't bad in the ring, but he's not necessarily like the greatest, he's not like the greatest big man. He's decent, but Khan to me is the star, and Khan is somebody that they really, really could use in a proper way, and they just haven't bothered to do it, and I don't really understand why, because when he's gotten a chance to shine, he has done some good stuff. So, age 41, Kenny Omega. I mean, Omega's got a couple years left. Those that like him really like him. Those that don't are never going to have their mind changed. And then there's people like me in the middle that can appreciate some of the good stuff he's done while also recognizing I don't believe he's the greatest wrestler or greatest wrestling artist going today, nor has he been. I think he peaked, quite frankly, with that Okada series of matches. And he's had good stuff since. That comeback match against Gabe Kidd was a hell of a lot better than I thought. But Omega, with his diverticulitis, with recovering from that and the various injuries, he's got 2 years left. By 2027, I'd say summer 2027, I'll be amazed if he's still wrestling. So, age 48, Bobby Lashley. Now, despite the ageist nature of this, Bobby Lashley still has a few years left because he's safe, he's in great shape, he doesn't do a bunch of crazy shit, he stays grounded, can do power stuff, and really just looks like $1 million goddamn dollars. And quite frankly, is exactly the type of guy that you would want to push and feature. And thankfully, him and Shelton Benjamin are the current tag team champions. And that's the great thing about it. They can revitalize the tag team division until the Bucks inevitably come back and wreck the whole damn thing, because that's what they do. But Lashley probably will not wrestle past 50, 51, and he doesn't need to. He's still very, very good, very skilled, and that's really all I have to say right there. Age 39, Luchasaurus. Who knows if he's going to come back to wrestling? I just hope he has a great quality of life, has a happy, healthy life, if he can ever come back. Impressive big man. The stuff with Christian Cage is getting a little bit stale. But 39, with the issues that he had, just take care of his health. If he can come back, great. If not, just live your life and be healthy and prosper. So, age 37, Brandon Cutler. This just incredible knockoff string being wannabe. He thinks that he's a professional wrestler. That's like me saying I'm an astronaut. He's a fucking joke. He's only there because he's the Bucks' best friend. He's not any good. He will never be any good. He's a fucking goddamn embarrassment. And he's 37, acting like he fucking does. On a national broadcast. Good God. Age 32, Kip Sabian. Kip and Penelope seem very happy with each other. And Kip, bless him, did have his injury, came back, has been making the most of any television time he could. I don't know about the brown sack stuff. I don't know really what the point of that was. But Kip seems like a nice guy. I, quite frankly, would feature him in a commentary role. I think you need to get some people. I think you need to mix some wrestlers in on commentary and vary things up, and I think Kip could do that. But I also think that Kip, his ceiling is not very high. That's not a short joke. I think Kip's just about where he's ever going to be in AEW. But, bless him. I mean, currently he's part of Christian Cage's group. So, age 40, Brian Cage, the Machine. Yes, he's athletic. He's also on enough goddamn monkey hormones that even Steve Reeves would have said, lad, that's a bit too much. I really don't think Steve Reeves actually would have been that coherent when he said it, because Steve Reeves, not exactly very well versed. Nevertheless, who the fuck knows who Steve Reeves is? Answers in the comments. Yeah, Brian Cage, physically impressive. And in short bursts is fine. Unfortunately, when I watch him in long matches, I remember, oh yeah, I don't really care for Brian Cage. Apparently, he signed a lengthy contract. Okay, Khan, you want to throw money down the drain on this guy? Bless him. And Cage wants to take the money. Whatever. WWE, they would have ran him out of the goddamn company in a year. Age 26 Commander, current Ring of Honor TV champion. He's another masked guy that can do flips. He seems like a nice guy. He was emotional when he won the title. I'm sorry, I don't see it with him. It's like fucking Cyclope. That's not Cyclope, that's Dean Malenko. He's just like another random masked guy in WCW. But at least in the case of WCW, people actually watched in droves. And nothing against Commander. In 6 to 7 minute matches, he's fine. As a Ring of Honor TV champion, whatever, he beat Brian Cage. I mean, that doesn't really mean anything. I saw Brian Cage win the Ring of Honor TV title against Atlantis Jr. on the pre-show for Wrestle Dream. I was like, well, that happened. So, Brody King, age 37. Big, imposing son of a bitch. TV does not do him justice. And woof, woof, woof. Nice big guy. Him and Buddy are a good team. I don't know if Brody is ever going to be the breakout singles guy that he could be. I could be wrong. We may just have to wait a little bit later in this year. He's had good single matches against Darby and others, but maybe time's right out. I mean, he's still got years left, and he's somebody that has some good matches here in Washington State. But hey, Brody and Buddy, fine team there. Age 42, Kota Ibushi. Who forgot that Kota Ibushi was still in the company? Who forgot that Kota Ibushi was still alive? Yeah, he did have that possible staph infection thing on his shoulder, and will just wrestle and do stupid shit because he doesn't care, and he doesn't have much left. Well, yeah, because he broke both his goddamn ankles doing dumb shit. And despite apparently coming from rich parents, and you would think having some kind of education, evidently, he doesn't know much about physical limits and stuff like that. And yes, Kota Ibushi excited people in the past. Now I think a lot of people just want him to stop fucking being stupid. And Khan signed him, and he has basically been paying him for about 2 goddamn years to not do anything. Because he keeps getting injured, because he's weird. And I like Kota. I've liked Kota in the past, but good God. Age 42, and his legs are like 62. Bryan Danielson is listed on the active roster at age 43. He'll probably come back for All In. I mean, at this point, I really don't want to see him wrestle anymore. I'd rather him just go home and be a family man. Because after that bullshit at Wrestle Dream 2024, I don't really want to see him anymore. I don't. I'm sorry. I just don't. He doesn't need to wrestle. He's done everything he needs to do. And then some. Age 26, Kyle Fletcher. Kyle Fletcher needs to pick a gimmick and stick with it. He has gone with about 8 different looks since he shaved his head, and none of them have necessarily stuck. He can do good stuff and can be a decent heel, maybe even a great heel. And he needs to find a focus. He really needs to find a fucking focus. But at 26, plenty of time. He's got plenty of good, upside. I just hope that he can channel that and move forward. Age 33, Brian Keith, as I call him, Brian Queef, because he is part of the Jericho Vortex stable thing. I don't care if he can wrestle. I don't want to see him. And all that stuff that he's done, it's just made me not want to ever watch him again. So, if you like him, great. Kyle O'Reilly, age 37, with a neck that he basically, had injured and was out for 2 goddamn years or thereabouts. And as safe as his style can be, he's never been a fireball personality. He's a beat-up guy from Ring of Honor and NXT. He's coasting on past glory and is probably not going to make it to 40 without basically just having to retire. And I mean, I hate to say that. I'm not writing him off. I'm not saying he's an awful human being, but him and various other, Adam Cole and others, just they don't have it anymore. And I don't think Kyle does. Age 36, Buddy Matthews. Very impressively, very impressive physical specimen. Can still do some great stuff, great high flying. great strength spots. Again, him and Brody will probably be a really good tag team. I think time's running out to feature Buddy properly as a singles guy. But in a crowded AEW roster, he does stand out when he's able to shine. So hopefully they let him shine. Age 47, Lance Archer. Everybody dies, and yes, believe it or not, Lance Archer is still employed by AEW. I mean, I say that he's actually been featured on some recent programs. The thing about Archer is physically, he's impressive. It's like 6'7", 6'8". Going all the way back to his days as Dallas, and then Lance Hoyt, and then Vance Archer, and then suffering a back injury and getting back surgery and coming back and still doing good stuff in New Japan. Lance is the type of big man that actually shockingly probably could wrestle until he's 50. But after that, I just don't know. And I don't know what else you really do with him now, because as good as he is when he's allowed to do stuff. Does anybody really take him seriously? Because he always loses. Cash Wheeler, I talked about Dax and Cash. FTR, easily my favorite tag team to watch when they're allowed to actually do some good stuff, but they're currently featured in this feud with the Death Riders, and it is walking death. Ironic. It is terrible. It is 1,000% bad. I can't stand it one fucking bit. I like Cash and Dax as a team. They need to feature them better. They need to let them just go out there and have just tremendous fucking tag matches like only they can. And time is running out on these guys, because they did sign a new contract. But if they're just going to keep featuring them in bullshit, yeah, they're going to get paid well, and nobody's going to remember the good stuff. They're only going to remember the bad stuff. So, age 27, Lee Johnson. Married to Julia Hart, I believe. Good on those two crazy kids for finding love in this crazy, kooky world. Lee Johnson's physically impressive as far as his athleticism and his leaping ability. Can't tell you the last thing I saw Lee Johnson do. He's there. He's not bad, don't get me wrong. Nothing stands out about him, but he's 27. He's got years left. Who doesn't is Chris Jericho at age 54. I refuse to believe he's 54. He moves like he's 74. He physically looks like shit. He can't go. None of his promos are interesting. He's actively dragging down any segment, any talents. Anything that he is involved in is being dragged down into the vortex. And Jericho, quite frankly, needs to be just taken out back old Yeller style and basically given an ultimatum. Leave under your own power, or we're going to have to take you out ourselves. He's not good. He can't do it anymore. And plus, where was his wife on January 6, 2021? So, Lee Moriarty, age 30. Lee Moriarty I saw at a couple indie shows at a now defunct promotion that has been rebirthed as another name. That being said, Lee Moriarty is actually very good, very technically sound, and I really can't tell you much else about this guy. I do know that he likes to do weird noises at indie shows. He's definitely not a guy that you'd want to fuck with, and he's definitely a guy you can rely on to have a really good match as far as technical ability and everything, but I don't know if personality-wise anything is going to stick out with this guy. That being said, Lee Johnson and Lee Moriarty, but team them up. The two Lees. Have Keith Lee team up with them. We three Lees of bad booking. Tony Khan is snorting again. Oh my goodness, we're getting paid thousands while Khan goes into powder. Oh, thanks guys. I don't know why I decided to do that joke this late in the video. Age 51, Christian Cage. The Dead Father stuff got old a while ago. I like that Nick Wayne is being featured on television. Certainly like that Shayna Wayne is there. Boy, do I ever. And Nick, super talented guy. Super talented kid. Young man. Whatever. Shayna, super nice, by the way. Very down to earth. Despite the fact she's half a foot taller than me. I met both of them at multiple indie shows. Nick has a great attitude interacting with the fans. His attitude also in the ring is he wants to learn. He's getting better. It's going to take time with him because the man's only 19. But anyway, so Christian Cage, he's still good. He can still do some good stuff, but the shtick is way old. Age 30, Leo Rush. Why is this little child on my television? Colt Cabana is still listed there at age 44. Boom, boom, get the fuck out of here. The fuck? And age 56, Luther. Look, I'm sure that Luther is a nice guy. I don't necessarily care how nice of a guy he is as far as being an in-ring performer. Flat out embarrassing. Being the butler for Tony Storm, he was fine. Did give us the flipping the middle finger meme. That was kind of cool. But other than that, no. There's not a lot to Luther. He's an agent. He's doing stuff backstage. Him and Serpentico did actually do a trans rights shirt thing. I forget what the actual message was. It was a good message. I just forget what the shirt actually said. And had I known that shirt was available for only a limited time, I would have checked it out and bought it. But so as far as a guy, I don't think he's a bad person at all. I just don't think he was much of a professional wrestler. So I'm gonna get these last few out of the way. Malachi Black, yeah, he's on his way out. He's age 39. Apparently, he's on his way out in the next few weeks or whatever. Maybe by the time this video drops. I mean, because it's in a state of flux. It's either February or March that his contract expires. I mean, realistically, his style, it's more suited probably for him to be in WWE. Don't let him have as much creative input because he can cut good promos, but just this House of Black stuff eventually got a little bit too ridiculous. But Malachi still has plenty to offer. And Toa Leona is age 33. I said what I said with Bishop Khan. I don't think Toa Leona, easy for me to say, is necessarily bad. But he's just another Samoan type guy, Tongan type guy that just does stuff. I mean, he can do a few impressive things, but he's just there. I'm sorry, he's just there. Age 40, Mark Briscoe. They really could have pushed him, featured him as a top guy, or at least upper card level. And they really haven't. Unfortunately, I think that's really about it. That's really about it for Mark Briscoe. And that's a shame because Mark Briscoe is very, very fucking good. And still has plenty to offer. But time is running out, even with as good a shape and as determined as this man is. And now we go to age 39 for Tony Nese. Tony Nese is still in great shape. He can still do the cool flips and the kicks and the running Nese. And that's really all I have to say about Tony Nese. He is a guy that's on the roster that does stuff mainly on Ring of Honor. So yeah, that's it right there. There's a couple more parts coming up here. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Rithlin, and I'll see you soon.